Okay, welcome students to the next class. And today we'll be doing the next chapter from Vistas, that is The Enemy, written by Pearl S.Buck. Right. So, talking about the writer, Pearl S.Buck, she's an American writer and she's a novelist. She's also known by her Chinese name called Sai Zhenshu. She's won some of the highest awards, including the Nobel Prize in Literature. Plus, she's also won the Pulitzer Prize, which is again a much coveted prize for literature. And she won it for a novel, The Good Earth. Uh, she was born to rich parents, and but she was very much influenced by writings. And this story, it basically is about a man's duties towards the state and towards his own conscience. In fact, the story raises questions about the ethics of human beings at the time of war. Dr. Sedao, who's the protagonist of the story, he's been shown as a doctor who's been brought up in very conservative, traditional, and patriotic environment, and they've grown up disliking Americans because it was a time when U.S. was at war with Japan, and so that's what the background is all about. And at the same time, he's a doctor, and like in his own country, uh, all the Japanese had developed a hatred towards Americans, and they never liked any of the Americans. But Dr. Serao, he had completed his MBBS and MD in medicine from the US, and he had studied there for 8 years. And then he had returned back to Japan to continue his services as a doctor to render his services there. So that is what the background of the story is about. So, he's shown as a person who's, like I said, he's shown as a doctor. As a young child, he's grown up in very conservative background. He's raised by his father, who was a very strict and a very staunch man. So, as a child, he would run around the pine trees, climbing up and down the mountains. His house was very near to the seashore, and often when you stand there on the balcony, you can see the waves coming to, and hitting the shore. So one day, he was standing outside, early morning it was, and he was watching the waves coming and hitting the shore. And that is when he realized he was introspecting at his own life, retrospecting rather, thinking about his past life there in US, the 8 years that he had spent in America, completing his education there as a doctor and doing his MD there. He was thinking of everything there, all the things that he had uh, done there, and all his experiences there. He could even recall how he had met Hannah, his wife, there. And although she was again a Japanese, but he never knew that she was a Japanese. They had met there, they fell in love, but they waited for the education to be completed before they came back to Japan. And it was ensured first by the father of Dr. Sedao that the girl Hannah was a Japanese. And once it was confirmed, then he allowed them to get married. And then they got married, and today they were blessed with two beautiful children. And as he was standing there looking outside, he felt his wife coming and holding his hand, standing next to him, the cool, breezy air blowing onto the faces and the hair. And as they were standing there, they looked at the seashore and they felt something trying to get up and falling down again and again. They were not sure what it was. And then they run down because they probably felt that it was a human being. So as they go down, run towards the shore, they found that it was a soldier, and who was badly injured by the rocks and the water crushing him against the rocks. So they are not quite sure what to do. And as they toss his body straight, they realize that it's an American as they see his cap and it was printed US Navy. So they realize it's an American soldier. Probably he had escaped as a prisoner of war, and he was trying to be tracked down by the Japanese army. but here he was lying unconscious. So they didn't know what to do next, because they had a dislike for all American soldiers. Now they were caught between two worlds. One is, as a Japanese, they do not want to help any American. Second, he's again a doctor, and as a doctor, he has to ensure that every life is saved. So after a lot of contemplation, finally they pick up the body and they bring him home. And the next is what to do. He asks his wife to clean the body. Although she's reluctant, she asks one of the servants, Yumi, to do that. But Yumi does not want to do it. She stands up against the order and she denies, and she says that she's not going to do that. She's not going to clean American soldier's body. Hannah does not like being confronted like that. And she, in a fit of anger, she brings a towel and soap and water and she decides to clean the body herself. She's angry with the servants in the house. The servants uh, start believing now that they are traitors. They're going against Japan. They are deceiving their own country. They are helping an American soldier. So they go around doing all kind of talks in the house, and she's quite affected by that. She even tells her husband that this is what the servants are talking. So the husband tells her that they are servants, and they're quite likely to talk like that. It's okay. We need to forgive them, and in the due course of time, even they will understand. So later on, they operate. The husband operates upon the American soldier's body, and he gets out that bullet. And with the passage of time, they feed him every day. Hannah ensures that she feeds him every day, and the due process, with the due passage of time, he recovers. Each day, he's recovering, and the meantime, after a few days, the servants ultimately plan that they're going to leave. So one fine day, they come up and they tell the masters that they want to leave. Humi does not stop any of them. Hannah gives them the money and they go. And but they also realize that something needs to be done about this man. So one day, suddenly, uh, the messenger from the general comes, and the general had sent across a message to Dr. Sadao telling him that he had called him. So when he goes there, he decides to tell the general everything. So he tells him, the general, that he had found a American soldier outside his house lying on the shore, and they brought him home. They treated him, he was okay, and he was still resting in his house, and something needs to be done about him because it's not safe to keep him in the house for long. So they say, okay, I'll send my assassins and they will come and kill him, and they'll even take the dead body and not leave a trace of this American soldier in the house. They say, okay, and they're expecting the same thing to happen. At the first night, it did not happen. Second night, again, it did not happen. Third night, again, it did not happen. And now Dr. Sadao is perturbed. He does not want the American soldier to be there in the house for long. So the next few days, he goes and he decides that it's time for him to leave the house. If he's not killed by the assassins, Dr. Sarao needs to ensure that he leaves the house. So he goes and buys a lot of food and clothing and water and light and every blanket and everything. He loads it, all the things, essentials, in a small little boat. And at the night, he tells the American soldier that he's okay now and he must leave. The American soldier is a bit reluctant because he's found safety in Dr. Sadao's house. But Dr. Sadao tells him that I cannot keep you in my house for long now because the word will spread. You need to go. So that night he leaves the house of Dr. Sadao. He sits in a boat and he goes. So before he goes, he tells him so that at night, if all is well, you're going to signal me with a torch, one flashlight. Second, you can flicker two flashlights if in case if you require anything. If you are safe, just one flash of light. And if no light comes, it means that you have found any Chinese or Japanese or Korean fishing boat and you have left that place and you're safe. So he waits till the evening, till dusk time, and he finds that there is no signal. So he understands that probably he's found a fishing boat, and he must have taken a ride there. He must have got into that boat, and he must have left that place. So in this way, Dr. Sarao finally is relieved that he did not even have to kill that American soldier in his house, and the American soldier has even left that shore, and he's probably alive, and he must have gone back to his family. It's a beautiful story, children. It comes with a very, very broad message. War is the time which brings out the worst in human beings. No matter which country you belong to, no matter which religion, which state, which sect, what caste, whatever you belong to, but it brings out the worst in all human beings. But it is also the time when such professionals, as a doctor, you stand up and you deliver. You prove to the world that you are a true professional. Although he hated Americans, he had no reason to save any American, but he knew he was duty bound because, as a doctor, his primary purpose should be to save a human life, immaterial of the fact, irrespective of the fact whether he's an American, a Chinese, a Japanese, or an Indian, or whichever country. His first duty is to save a human life, and that is what he did. Even his wife, because even she too was a doctor, even she understood what her husband was doing. Even she stood by her husband, supported him through and through. Only that the servants of the house could not understand. But it was understandable because they were lesser educated, and it was expected from them that they would behave in such a way. So, in this way, children, you see how during such times we all will stand up. We all need to stand up. It was something he didn't. He was not helping that American soldier out of any love for him. He was just being a thorough professional. He looked after that American as long as the American soldier was in his house. He looked after him, although he hated him. But still, the moment he came face to face with that American soldier, he would care for him just as a doctor would. Right, children? So it comes with a theme. I'm sure this will help you to understand the chapter. Thank you all so much, children. If you still have any doubts, you can get back to me. You can call me. You can email me with your doubts. And uh, I believe the chapter must be clear by now. Right? Thank you.